everybody, welcome back to Shelf Control. I'm Lisa.
I'm Norm.
And today we're talking about Paladins of the West Kingdom. It's our random review, and let's talk about it.
All right, so this in the middle is the big box that they had a Kickstarter to get when they did the expansions. So this stores everything, but the game originally comes in these smaller box and the expansion. So I thought I'd show those off, but these are just empty. So
I will say I like the original box better.
I do like this box.
I mean, first of all, I love the art, but we'll get into all of that and stuff. But you know, to just look at this, okay, what game is this? I don't know.
Yeah,
you gotta look at the sides. But
so.
I mean, and we have them on the shelf sideways, so I mean we can tell. But this one just looks better.
Yeah, and usually with like expansion boxes and stuff like that, I've got a shelf that I keep them on just in case I ever want to get rid of them. I can put them back in the box. But these I actually have out on a shelf over there because the art is just so cool on these. So even though we store the game in this, we still have these on a different shelf somewhere just to show them off. But
show them off to ourselves.
If you want to store everything in one box, you need this bigger one. And
that came separate, right?
This came separate. Yeah, we've got the big box for Raiders and Architects and the Viscounts here. They came out with the big boxes for those as well. And they've actually changed now that whenever they come out with a new game, they're putting it in a big box like this.
There's a West Kingdom right there. What's that one for?
This is the Tome Saga. So this is something that we've never done yet, so we won't really be able to talk about it.
But is it this game?
It works with Architects, Paladins, and Viscounts.
Oh.
And it kind of gives it like almost like a marathon that you can run, because you play Architects with this, and then that carries on into Paladins, and then that carries on into Viscounts, and then that determines a winner. And so
we're gonna have to do that.
I've really been interested in trying this, but we haven't yet, so we won't be talking about this.
All right, throw that back on the shelf. Take that.
But if you're interested in that, please let us know, because Paladins is the second of a 3-game series that takes Architects and Viscounts as well, and so they all take place within the West Kingdom. And if you want us to talk about those as well, please let us know in the comments, and whether you want us to tackle the Tome Saga.
Because who knows when those will come up in our random.
Yeah, and you know, any excuse to try and get to that. If you guys pressure us into it, then we'll have no choice.
Twist our arm. So. Oh, we'll do it.
Paladins, it came up as our random, but this is one that we really didn't need that much encouragement to do, because we've played this quite a bit.
It's my sister's favorite game.
She comes over quite often, and this is one that she'll request.
Have we introduced her to the other two West Kingdoms?
I think she's played. Yeah, yeah. I think she's played both. Not near as much as Paladins, but I think we could probably talk her into the Tome Saga.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to talk her into it. Just suggest it. She's in. Okay, we're digressing. Sorry.
Paladins is kind of unique. It's almost like a worker placement, but it's almost more like you've got a certain number of resources that you kind of program what you want to do. You're going to start with a hand of Paladin cards. Everyone has a deck that has the same Paladins in it, and this deck has both the expansion Paladins and the promo Paladins. So this is more Paladins than you really need. But you'll go through and you'll pick one. I think in the original game you only draw 3, and you pick the one that you're going to play that turn, one that you're going to put on top of the deck, so you'll draw it into your selection for next time, and one on the bottom, so
you're not going to get to
it might come back later.
I think in the original game they all come back.
I think they all come back when you add the expansion and the Paladin, the promos. it gets a bit wieldy, and I think after like the second turn, the one that you get on the bottom, you're not going to see again. And so there's different variations that they've come up with to play this, where you like pick which paladins you want to remove or whatever. But so anyways, one to play, one on top, one on the bottom, and then you reveal your paladin, and he has a picture on the top. This has a blue guy and a black guy, and so you're going to get a blue worker and a black worker.
I'm going to get a red and a blue.
And then these end cards, you turn them up so you've got one more than the number of players, and they all have four
different color meeples.
Four meeples on it of different colors. And in turn order, you would pick one. And so in this case, I might take this. So I would get a blue worker, a red worker, and 2 green. And then Lisa would have the remaining 2 to pick from.
And there are gold in the expansion, gold meeples, and they basically are wild. They will count as any color meeple, and it costs either 1 gold or 1 provision less at wherever spot you use him. So I'm picking that one, because why not, right?
And then this one that doesn't get picked gets discarded.
So you're always starting off with 6 meeples.
And so these 6 meeples are going to be how you select your actions for the game. I didn't bother setting mine up because I was fairly certain I was going to be picking mine up.
And each paladin has different abilities. So you're going to pick the one that best goes towards what you're doing that round. And it may be you have no idea what you're doing at the start of the game, and so you're just picking a paladin and going with it. So mine would be garrison costs no provisions. And Norm will talk about those kind of things.
Garrisoning is an action you can take. Mine I picked is absolving costs no silver, and so absolving is another action that you can take. So on your board, you're going to have a track here that tracks your proficiency in different abilities, different qualities. We just call them by their color, because you have the red, green, and black in the base game.
No, red, blue, and black.
Red, blue, and black, and the gray is for the expansion. But they all start on 0, and the paladin that you choose can modify that. He's got a blue 3 and a red 1.
So you don't move your flag up, but when you're doing an ability that requires, for instance, a blue ability, you're going to count how many you're up on your track plus what your paladin gives you.
So he can make it a little bit stronger. So if I was at a 0 playing this guy, I can do my blue up to a 3 value if I need to. And so you've got all of these worker spots scattered on your own board, and that's where you're going to be putting the meeples to take that action. And on your turn, you're just going to pick one action. And the spots have different amounts of workers that are required to take that action. The conspire action or the prey action only takes 1 person to go there. The trade and hunt and recruit, you can put 1 or 2 people there when you take those actions. And the develop action is always 2. But over here on the right side of the board, your main actions take 3 workers, 2 of a specific color, and 1 that can be any color. And so you've only got 6 workers to play with, so you need to decide where am I going to put those workers. Every turn you're going to pick a spot and say I'm going to put 2 workers in develop and take that action, and then everyone else takes their turn. Now I've got 4 left, and these guys stay in the develop, so I can't develop again unless I can empty that space. And I've got 4 workers. What am I going to do next? And what's kind of unique with this is the first 2 spots in each of these 3 have a dotted line around them, and that's where the develop action is useful. You put 2 workers here, pay 4 money, and
you get to take the furthest to the left, your little house, off of there. And when you do that, it exposes a color meeple. So
you'll
each
get
time you
one of those
develop,
meeples
you
back.
get a meeple. So in doing that first one, you get a white meeple. And then you can take this house and put it anywhere on those dotted squares. And that just makes it a little bit cheaper for you to do those actions. So garrisoning costs no provisions is my first paladin. So it would make sense for me to put it, I'm going to take that off since we're not talking about that one yet. I'm going to put that in the garrison spot. So I'm going to cover the blue meeple there. And then now I only need a red and a meeple of another color to do that action. So developing, it costs 4 money, but it helps you make the other spots a little bit cheaper to do.
And so your 6 meeples a turn can go further and further.
Yep.
If she did it a second time, she could cover up the colorless one, and then it only takes the 1 red person to take that action. So you only use 1 meeple every time.
And we'll talk about it, but there are ways to clear this spot so that I could do it again and again. So.
And another thing that's unique, each of these actions, they have a little color code at the top, because commissioning has black on the left side, blue on the right, because it cares how high you are here on black. Because when you're doing your commission, you're putting things out on this board, and how high your black level is how far out on this board you can place things. So if your black is not very high, there's only a couple spots here. If when those fill up, you need to get more, you need to get your black up to go further out here. And every time you take this action, it increases your blue. Where absolving is the opposite. It cares about how high your blue is, and taking that action will increase your black. And same thing here, blue and red, and then red and blue, red and black, black and red. And so as you're taking actions, if you keep taking the same action over and over, you keep commissioning, your black level isn't going up at all. So eventually you're not going to be able to take that action because there's no spots available at your low black level. So you're going to have to be like, okay, I need to get my black level up, so I'm either going to be garrisoning or absolving to get those levels up. But then, you know, absolving would be a good one to go with that, because you're using your black to up your blue, and absolving you're using the blue to up the black. So you hit those 2 constantly, and your blue and black just keep going up. But then your red is just sitting still and not doing anything. And then you might want to take a red action, but you don't have your red up high enough.
And all of these actions either cost gold or cost provisions, so you got to keep that in mind too, and make sure that what you're doing, you're acquiring enough of these resources to do these actions throughout the game.
And so that's where, like, she picked the paladin, where garrisoning costs no provisions. Your early actions of garrisoning, your first 3 times you do it only costs 1 provision, and then your next 2 are 2 provisions, and your last 2 are 3 provisions. So if you're planning on garrisoning a lot late in the game, you'll want to play the one where it doesn't cost you any provisions, because then you don't have to pay the 2 or 3 to do it. And so the more of these, there's bonus points at the end of the game for all of these that you can uncover. And kind of a wrench in the works is every round you're going to uncover, for the first 3 rounds, one of the King's Order cards. And so in this case, the king wants you to garrison 5 times by the end of the game. And if you do, you'll get 4 points at the end of the game. And so that's a goal for everyone to try to accomplish by the end of the game. But when you first sat down, garrisoning might have not been something that you were planning on doing. And so now it's like, okay, garrisoning cares about red and black, so am I going to garrison and convert, because that turns black into red? But in round 2, you flip this over, and all of a sudden the king wants absolving. 5 absolve actions to be taken by you.
And that'll give you 6 points at the end of the
And
game.
that's
if you
6
do
points
that.
at the end of the game. But absolving uses the red and the black.
Nope,
Instead-
absolving uses the blue and the black.
It uses blue and the black instead of the red and the black. And so now you're like, okay, I need to up my red and I need to up my blue. And both of those actions up black, which isn't needed yet. But in the third round, the last one comes up, and it's commissioning, which does require the black.
And if you do that one by the end of the game, it's 8 points.
It's 8 points. And so you're more incentivized to do the last ones because they're more points if you can. But those are things that everyone can accomplish. So if somebody accomplishes all 3 of them and you only accomplish 2 of them, you're kind of behind a little bit.
And is it the expansion that gives you your own secret one, or is that?
It's in
okay.
the expansion. You get your own secret one for 6 points as well, and so that could be something that you consider as well. And so, like in this case, garrisoning and commissioning and absolving, it's like, okay, commissioning and absolving go together with the blue and black. They'll bump each other up. Garrisoning requires red. It's only 4 points if I complete that one. Maybe I ignore that one. But then again, you get points based on how high your different colors are here as well. So if your red stays at 0, you're not getting any points for the red. So there's this whole balancing act of how can I do what the king needs to do while keeping my values going and make the most efficient use out of the 6 meeples that I get every turn.
Well, do you want to talk about each area and what it does?
Sure. So we kind of went over developing. Developing is how you get the green buildings out to make other actions here on the right side of the board cheaper. And
it requires 4 gold each time, but
4
there is a
gold.
Paladin that says developing costs 2 less. So that gives you the ability to do it a little bit cheaper. And that would be a good one to get out early.
yeah, the faster you can get those out, then
The cheaper
the
everything
cheaper
is.
these
Yeah.
actions are for you to do. So waiting until late game to do that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And if you can get enough of them out, they're worth 1, 3, 6 points at the end of the game. If you can empty this out, you get 6 points. But it does cost a lot of silver that you're going to have to pick up somewhere else.
The next area is hunting. So you can either put 1 meeple there of any color and just get 1 provision. Or you can put a meeple of any color and a green, and that'll give you 3 provisions. So there is a Paladin that is the huntsman, and that allows you to get, I think, 2 additional provisions.
Whenever you do the hunt
So when you do
action.
that, you would get 5 provisions
3
total.
or 5, depending on how many people you put down.
Mhm.
And what's unique with these places is you have to put both down at once. You can't put one down on one turn and then put the green one down on another for the other. You have to decide when you're taking the action, am I only going to get 1 or am I going to get all 3?
Once you have something there, that spot is blocked. You can't go there again.
Trade is the exact same as hunt, but for money. You put any color meeple down for 1. You put down any color and a blue to get 3 total. And there's a Paladin that gives you 2 extra silver when you take that action. So you can get 3 or 5.
Your recruit action's a little bit unique. That takes into account these cards right here at the top, which are additional people in town that help you and give you a little bit of a bonus or a boost in something. So if you put just any color meeple down, you can dismiss one of the workers in the working pool. And if you dismiss them, you get the action. You get to do the action that's in the upper corner.
Yeah, there's a little green X with a symbol underneath it. So in this case, if you dismiss this guy, you'll get a red worker and a white worker.
If I dismiss this worker, I get to pray. And if you pray, you get to clear a section on your board. So let's say I developed. If I dismiss this worker and I got to do the pray action, I get to remove those meeples from the game, and then I can do that action again on my next turn. You'd still have to pay the money or provisions for that action, but it opens up that spot for you to do it again. And there's spots here, so each worker is going to cost a little bit more. So if I'm dismissing a worker, that first one I can dismiss for free. But if I want to dismiss this next one, I have to pay a coin. The next one would be 2 coins. The next is, I think they're both 2 coins.
The last one's 3.
Okay, so these two are 2 coins. I can actually take a debt instead of paying coins. And same with this. It's either taking a debt or paying free money.
And debts, when they start out, it's -3 points at the end of the game, but there are ways that you can pay your debt, which will flip it over, and then it's worth 1 point at the end of the game. So getting a debt is not terrible if you have ways of resolving them.
Right.
And then instead of losing 3, you gain 1.
And also part of the recruit action, if you just put the 1 meeple, you're dismissing. If you're putting any color meeple and a red, you're actually hiring. And so it works the same way. The higher you go, the more you have to pay or take a debt. But when you get an employee, I guess is the way to do it, you get the action down here. So in this instance, any time that I convert, I'll get a white meeple. Other ones is anytime you pray, you get a provision, and sometimes there'll be a little small lightning bolt. And it's an immediate, you'll get that immediate reward in addition to this constantly moving forward. So I would get 1 provision, and then every time I prayed, I would get an additional provision.
And so when you hire them, they come up face up in front of you, and they just make your actions a little bit better. There's that last guy's whenever you take the garrison action, you gain a worker. And so if there's something that you think you're going to be doing often, it can be profitable to take the helper that makes that action even better for you.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just like with the hunt and trade, you have to decide whether you're putting 1 worker there to dismiss or you're putting 2 workers there to hire. You can't put 1 down to dismiss and then in another turn put the second one down to hire. It's either
all or
one
nothing,
the other.
baby.
So praying, we've already gone over that. It clears off a spot so you can reuse it that same turn. It costs 2 silver and it requires a black worker to do that.
Conspire is the next one, and that is you put any color meeple down and you get a purple one. And a purple meeple,
We have not talked
Nope.
about the purple.
purple meeple is a wild meeple, kind of like the gold, but it doesn't give you any type of discount of gold or provision. So if I put any color meeple down, I get a purple one, and he's kind of like a little sneaky
Yeah,
guy.
I don't know if he's a thief or what, but he's not
He's
a good
under
guy.
the law a little bit.
And
So
whenever you get a purple meeple in any way, if you conspire, if you pick it from one of these cards that none of them are showing up as wow, so this one has a purple on it. If you pick this one, then that's getting a purple meeple. Anything you do that gets you a purple meeple,
you are
have
now
to
under suspicion.
You have to take one of these suspicion cards. And these suspicion cards could have a certain amount of money that you actually get to take, but it comes out of the tax pile here. These ones give you 2. Here's one that gives you 1. There's a few that don't give you anything. And so you're going to be collecting this suspicion over here, and the more suspicion you have, the more trouble you can get in, because whenever this pile of tax money disappears, and it varies on the number of players. For 2 players, it gets 5 money in it. So in this case, I took 2 in one turn, I took 2 in another, I took 1 in another. This is now empty, so now we have to evaluate.
And that pool will always refill. So as soon as it empties, it refills. But then you look at everybody and see who has the most suspicion. And whoever has the most suspicion gets a debt.
You take a debt.
But then it also, whoever takes that debt, their pile of suspicion gets reduced by half.
Rounded down. So I have 3. I would lose 1 of my suspicion.
But he
And
now
so
has a debt that
now
he
I
has
have
to
2,
deal with.
and I have a debt. So if you're going the heavy suspicion route, you need to have a plan of how you're going to handle these debts, because you're going to be taking these debts on. And there are ways that you can try and get rid of suspicion, hopefully timing it so you get rid of your suspicion before this empties out.
And there are workers that will say, anytime the tax pool empties, discard one of your suspicions before the count happens. So if you've got him, maybe it's not so bad for you to take the purple workers or
Yeah,
get
go ahead
suspicions.
and take one suspicion because it's going away. And as long as you have fewer suspicion than everyone else around you, you're good. So
If I could have three
if she
suspicion,
had three,
he could have 4. If the end of the tax pool, if the tax pool empties, he's getting that debt, not me. And then he discards down to half. I still have to keep my suspicion. So you got to keep that in mind as well. So if you tie, so let's say we both had 3, we're both getting that debt. So it's whoever ties or has the most is who's going to get that debt.
yeah. So you have to watch other people's debts because there might be a time where you're like, oh, Norm's got 4, I'm okay with 3, and then as my very last action, I do something that gets rid of one of my suspicions, and it's like, sorry, we're both getting a debt. Or if I can get rid of 2, it's like, you thought you were safe, you're getting the debt, not me.
Norm loves taking the employees that get rid of some of his suspicion, and then you forget about it until debts come out, and then he's like, nope, not me, and you just want to punch him in the throat.
You need someone on your side being like, hey, this guy's not as bad as you think. You need somebody in your corner.
So those are the left side of the board actions that you can take, and those kind of give you something as far as resources for the game. The other half are actual actions that allow you to progress during the game. Norm's already mentioned how they help you climb up on your your activity track, whatever that is. So your first one is commissioning, and it cares about how much black influence you have, and it's going to give you blue influence. So you'll put your 3 workers down, or however many workers it requires, because I could have developed and filled some of that in to make it cheaper. But then I will look and say, okay, my blue is at
Black.
my black is at, and in this action, it's at a 0, actually. Even my paladin doesn't give me any. So I'm at a 0. There is a place that I can go for 0.
There's a little symbol down here that has a 0 and a black flag.
So anytime you commission or garrison, it's going in the same section of the board. So there's a black and a red flag down there that tell you how many you need. So I would just take my commission piece and put it anywhere on the board. So it does mark for 3 or 4 players. So if you're only playing a 2-player game, you can't go to those spots.
There's only 2 spots for a 2-player game.
And it's either hire a worker and not pay anything for it, in which case I could take the workers that cost more and it not have to pay for it. Or I can take 2 gold. So I can choose.
She puts her person down. That spot's now full. I can't go there to get 2 money. I would have to do the other one.
And when I clear that spot, it makes my blue track go up 1. So that'll allow me to move up on the blue by placing the commission.
I believe commissioning is like sending out missionaries out into the countryside.
Ah.
And so that's what these little black busts.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
And so as you're filling up these spaces, you want to get your black level up higher because this one requires at least a 2. This one's a 4, 6, 8, all the way up to 10. In order to place way out here, and the abilities get a whole lot better as you go out here. There's ways to flip debts, there's way to get more workers, there's the prey action which lets you empty a spot, which is huge, and
hire workers. I mean, so there's all kinds of benefits to going out there, so you want to try to get as far out as you can in your commissioning. The next one is, well, we'll go to absolving. You need your blue track up, and that allows you to go further. It costs a money when you absolve, and then it goes, so the first absolve is only 1 money, and then it goes to 2, and then it goes to 3. So you need to keep those in mind. And again, there are paladins for each of these places that allow things to be a little bit cheaper. So if I absolve,
the absolve, it's marked on the little vases. How high your blue level needs to be.
So this first one is a 0, but then it goes 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9. So you need to make sure your blue track can support when you go to absolve. If your blue level isn't high enough, you can't do that action. So you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, so your blue level, you've got a 1 here because you commissioned.
And then my paladin gives me 1, so I'm at a 2. So I can go up to 2, but you have to go in order. So I have to start at the bottom.
So she can do the 0, 1, and then in another turn do the 1, but the next one after that is a 3. So she would have to up her blue somehow, either play a paladin with a higher blue value or take another commission to move it up in order to be able to absolve anymore.
And then when I absolve, I'm going to fill in one of the spots over to the side of it. And that gives you a little bit additional resources. So when I uncover it, it immediately bumps my black up 1. And then I can choose, do I want to hire a worker? Do I want to get rid of a suspicion? Do I want to get a white worker or a white meeple? Flip debts, pray, get provisions, or just up my black again. And then I decide what I want and I cover it. And as soon as I cover it, I can't take that spot again. But every time you absolve, you always get to get rid of a suspicion. So you have an option to get rid of multiple on your turn.
So you're getting rid of some of that guilt. That's a great way to get rid of suspicion.
You've gone to the church, you've asked for absolution, and you've gotten rid of some of your suspicion.
You can choose it to flip debts as well. So you can be as bad as you want in this game as long as you go to the church and pay a little bit of coin, and they'll absolve you.
That's right. Alms or paying for your penance, right? So then we'll talk about fortifying. So that one cares about where your blue track is, and it will give you red every time you do that fortify. This is my sister's favorite action, and it costs provisions to do. So
it gives you your blue level printed at each of these spots
at the top of the board. So you need to make sure the first one again is 0. Your blue can be at a 0. So if I fortify, I am going to take one of the fortified cards and I'm going to flip it and get what it gives me. So it gives me 1 up on the red. So I'll move my red up, and then I get a white and a red meeple. So
and that just tucks in there, so you're starting to build the wall to fortify your area.
And the higher out you go, the more points you get at the end of the game. So you want to fortify, you want to try to find that sweet balance to get as many of these done as possible to give you points. So what goes along with fortifying is attacking. So when you attack, it costs, it doesn't cost money. When you go to attack, it cares about where your red level is. So in this instance, my red is at a 4.
So here, just like there's a black flag for putting out your commissions, there's red flags here as well for attacking and garrisoning, which we'll go over later. So with her red at a 4, this is a red 1, this is a red 3, this is a red 5. So without having to pay any more money, she can only attack one of these 2.
Now the good thing about attacking is I can pay a gold and it gives me 2 more levels. So I have a 4, this would take me to a 6.
So if she really wanted to attack the guy in the 5 spot, she could pay money to make that attack a little bit stronger.
So I hired some, what are they called?
Mercenaries?
Mercenaries. I hired some mercenaries.
And each card, just like these guys have the dismiss, when you attack them, you get a bonus listed at the top for defeating them. And it's always at least 1 blue, and this one's 1 blue and 2 money from the tax section. So that's starting to empty out the tax. And you'll want to keep these with you because you can get some bonus points based off of what symbols you've fought against.
And sometimes the king's orders want you to fight, so you'll want to keep track of how many you have.
You want to attack 5 times, so you need to make sure, okay, well, I successfully attacked once, I'll keep this here.
And once you take either one of these employees or one of those I guess enemies that you fought, that space stays empty until the end of the round, and then it refills. It doesn't refill throughout the turns.
Yeah, so things further up don't get cheaper as people attack. They stay where they are until the end of the round, and then they'll get cheaper.
So the next one is garrisoning. So it cares about where your red level is, and it will give you black exposure. Influence. So you'll put your workers there, depending on if you've developed there or not, and based on where your red is, and again my red is a 4, I'll go back down to that same little table, and I can go as far as 3.
It's 3.
And it costs provisions every time you garrison, unless you have the Paladin that says it costs nothing. So then I'll go to wherever I can worth 3.
Yeah, so you can go all the way out here, get rid of suspicion, take 2 money, hire somebody, or get a green worker. And these take the exact same spots as the garrisoning,
The commissioning.
the commissioning. So she could, like if she sees that my red and black is not very high, if she puts that there, both of those spots are now filled. I've got to go up to either 2 black or 3 red in order to come out here. And so you've got both of these colored pieces coming out from every player starting to fill this up.
So
And
even though I could go as high as 4, I can go as high as 4. I can go anywhere in that section, in those sections. So I could be a butt and keep him from doing anything if he doesn't have those levels high enough. So when I garrison, it moves up my black one, and then I get whatever the bonus is of what I covered there. And then the last one is converting. And converting takes the same cards as what you would be fighting. And in this instance, you're doing the bottom piece of it.
And so that's where the end game points can come in. So her black is at a 3, so she can commission one of these two, because this one's a 0 and this one's a 2. And when you commission, you're going to take the person, it automatically ups your red one, and then this will tuck under the board.
And it costs money when you convert. So the first one's free, but then after that it costs 1, 2, or up to 3 silver to do that.
And so the one that she took here,
It immediately gives me the red, which I took on my
and
influence.
at the end of the game, she's going to get a point for every 4 blue influence that she has.
So if I can get my blue all the way up to 12, that's going to be 3 points.
That'll be 3 points at the end of the game.
So those come in really handy.
Now this one will give you 2 red if you convert, and it'll give you a point for every one of these yellow cross symbols that you've defeated in a battle. And so if you're attacking a lot of those, this would be a good one to convert over to your side. It gives you 2 red, which is pretty good, and a point for every yellow cross that you've defeated in an attack. And so there's different end game scorings that you can take here. This one's a point for every flipped debt. So if you're flipping a lot of debts, that's a good one to convert. And so your converting is giving you, upping your red and giving you more points at the end of the game.
And so those are all the actions. So the round consists of whoever goes first, take 1 action, and then it goes around until, let's say I have no more actions. I'll say I pass. And then I'm done until everyone else passes. And then the second round starts. At that point, you always get rid of, if there's a worker or a fighter in the first spots, you always take those and discard them.
Gone.
And then everything moves down. You then
You'll flip over the next one up. So once these 3 are gone, you start getting not King's Orders but King's Favors, I think. And these track the round because you're playing over 7 rounds, but they also give you additional spaces that you can put workers. So this one is you put a worker of any color, and you'll get 2 purple workers, which is wild.
But you still have to then draw suspicion
you'll
for
get 2
each.
suspicion
right.
for that.
So anytime you're given a purple, you still have to follow the normal process of taking a suspicion for that purple and then potentially taking money from the tax pile and then potentially triggering that somebody's getting a debt. This is one that you just place any color worker. You have to take a debt, but then you get a green, a blue, and a red meeple. So that's a really good spot.
You get a lot of workers.
But you have to take a debt to do it. But that's really good because, again, you want as many workers as you can to do as much during that round. Now, you can carry over 2 meeples. So when I pass, if I have 2 meeples, I can carry them over into the next turn. I can't carry any more than that over. So there's no point holding on to meeples. You want to use them. You want to get as much as you can during your turn. and then you can carry over up to 2 of any color. So you're doing that each round. Again, it goes over 7 rounds, and then once the game's over, you score.
You just add up all the
Yep.
points. How many of the king's orders did you complete? Did you uncover any of these points up here? How far did you get up on the influence? Your people that you've converted for points. How many debts do you have? Subtract those points. How many debts have you paid? Add those points. And there's various places where you might get some more points. I think some of the fortifications will give you a bonus point and things like that. But you just add up the points, and whoever has the most points wins the game.
Yep.
And so now you know how to play the base game of
base game.
Paladins.
Hey, so now you know the game. Are you ready?
So I will
Roughly.
say that the gold meeple is not in the base game. So
I think it came with the big box, so it's not in the expansion either.
oh, okay.
It came when you ordered the big box.
So some of you may not have a gold meeple,
So
but
it's probably available on their web store. I think when I went there, I went ahead and like bought all their promo packs and everything together to keep shipping together, and you could probably throw the yellow workers in. They're kind of useful.
yep, they're nice to have. Do you want to go over what some of the expansion brings to it, or are we just going to talk about the base?
I can mention some. The expansion adds these boards that won't fit on this table very well, but it just extends things out. It actually gives you another spot here for, so you have even further out to black 12 or red 13 in order to attack out here or put things out here, and it just extends this out a little bit.
It would
And
extend the workers that you could
it gives you
hire
a
or dismiss.
few more options there, and it also adds a couple new actions. You get these boards that you get one at random that just tacks onto the side of your board that gives you an action called muster and an action called negotiate, and these are kind of unique. With the muster action, that new board puts out some cards here. That's not it.
That's not a muster card.
That's the solo. Where's the, oh, I have
You
the
have them out
I have
there.
them over here. So it actually puts out a spot that's like another worker placement where if you could put a black worker here and gain 2 white workers, or move a green from someplace you have it on the board to another place on the board. So if you're done with commissioning, you can move this over to attack, to be like, I'm going to attack now. So that could be kind of useful. And that black meeple is going to sit there until somebody takes the muster action and moves, I forget what he's called, but there's a little meeple that's going to sit on the board. You move him to that spot. In the case of this, it requires you to have 9 blue. So these are staggered. They don't get this expensive early. But you move him here, you'll move up on the gray on your attribute, which is the new color. You'll actually take this card, take the action, so you get 2 white workers or move a thing, plus you get the black worker that somebody else may have put there earlier, and take it into your pool of workers. And then you'll keep this, tuck it up here, and at the end of the game, for every 2 of those actions you took, you get a point. What's unique with the muster action is each of these has, it's not a specific color that it's looking for. This one, you can't go here unless your blue is a 1. You can't go here unless your black is at least a 0. You can't go here unless your silver is a 2. So it's
it'll
not like,
always move your gray up, but it may require different attributes to get there.
so unlike the ones here where it's like this is always black turning into blue and this is always blue turning into black, the muster action is whatever color is printed on the card turning into gray. And so what's unique with that is I like to to have turns where it's like, I'm going to put that black worker down and get that bonus, and then my next turn, I'm going to muster and move the guy over, and I'm going to take that action again and get my black guy back and get half a point for doing it. And so you can have some pretty unique turns that way. Or it's even nice if somebody else puts the worker out there and you can be like, I'll take that worker, please. And then negotiate, you get these cards. These must be them here. Yep. I want to take some of these earlier ones.
Yep.
So these cards go along the bottom, and they have two sides, and that's what the negotiate action is for. So when you negotiate, you're looking at, for the bottom action, again, it'll be different colors. This one requires a black 2 in order to take this action. And when you do, it ups your gray, and you just collect it under your board. All it does is up that gray, but it gives you another symbol. This one is a blue money bag, and my board just happened to start with red swords. And you're just collecting those symbols for scoring at the end of the game. If you have one symbol, no points. If you have two different symbols, 2 points, and then 5, 9 for getting a set of all 4. And you can collect multiple sets as well. And so that can be a good source of points, but it doesn't do anything other than give you those points and up your gray. The top part requires your gray to be a certain level, and it's only going to be grays at the top, but it lets you take whatever action is shown at the top. So this one is the absolve action at a blue +2. So I can take this card and it gets discarded. You don't keep it for the symbol because you're using the top. And you can do the absolve action as if my blue was 2 higher than it is, and I don't have to pay the silver cost required to do that. You're just taking that action.
Which is really, really nice.
It can be so nice for, like in a case where she's covered up both of these spots here, and I want to commission, but I don't have the 2 black. If this says commission at a +2, I can take this and commission as if my black was at a 2 and get out here and actually do a commission action. And so it gives you a lot of flexibility for doing actions that might be out of your reach.
So to do the muster action, you use provisions. You have to pay a provision to move the muster guy.
Yes.
If you take the negotiate action, you have to pay silver.
It costs silver.
So it's either provisions or silver. One thing we didn't mention is at the bottom here, collecting symbols. If you get 3 of the same symbol, it then gives you...
There's a special person for each
symbol.
So
let's say I got 3
money bags. So 3 money bags. As soon as somebody gets 3, they get to take this card, and then it's theirs for the rest of the game. Somebody else can't take it from them. But it immediately will let them hire somebody for free, and then at the beginning of every turn, they get a blue worker bonus.
Every round?
Yep.
Not turn. Okay.
Yeah, every round. And so
if you get that early,
there's one here for green that gives you provisions and a green. There's one here that gives you 2 tax money and gets rid of a suspicion and will give you a red. And one here that immediately will flip a debt and gives you a black worker. And so
if you can get those early on, that's, you play for 7 rounds. So that's a pretty nice bonus for a few rounds if you can get that pretty early on.
Yeah, so Lisa's board starts her at blue with a blue money bag.
Money, money, money.
She might look at the cards that are available for
The
negotiating
action.
And be like, you know what, there's a couple blues out there. If I get one this turn, I might be able to get that other one next turn, and on turn 3 I'm starting to get an extra worker.
Yep.
And in that case, it's not worth any points because she's got 3 blues, and having one of a symbol is 0 points. But then after she's got that, she could be like, okay, I'm going to start branching out into the other colors and get the points and use that one extra worker every round as a means to an end. So
that's pretty much the expansion.
it's really kind of more of the same. It's a little bit more complicated than the base game. I wouldn't necessarily teach the game with the expansion just because
It's just a lot of pieces to follow.
on the board it's pretty easy to say this requires blue and gives you black, this requires black and gives you blue. And so it's like if somebody's like, okay, how can I commission? Okay, I need the black to go up. All right, this shows me how the black goes up. Where the muster and negotiate, those keep changing.
Yep.
What you want to do might be worth, you might need 5 red one turn and 3 gray the next turn. You know, so it's a little bit more confusing.
And once you master the base game, adding this in is just going to be a breeze. So,
I agree.
all right, likes and dislikes.
I really like this game. I like the puzzle of I've got these six guys. How best can I do this? It's like, okay, absolving costs me no silver, and it's like let's say I kept turn after turn putting this absolving costing no silver on top of the deck. So it's like I know that eventually I'm going to pick this. So I'm going to take the develop action and start putting the green houses here to make absolving
Hey, those are my
take
green
fewer
houses.
and fewer people to do. And then all of a sudden I got this thing that says, okay, absolving costs no silver. It's like, excellent. It costs 1 blue guy to do it. So boom, I'm doing that and I'm absolving. All right, I can put 1 black guy here to free up that 1 spot to do the prey action. I've got 1 more blue guy, so I can put him here. And then it's like, okay, I want to absolve even more. Okay, if I send somebody away, so I can put any color there to send this person away, which gives me the prey action. So now absolving is open, but I've got a red and a green.
And you need a blue.
All right, so now I need to conspire for a purple and take a suspicion, which gives me a coin from here, but now I have this blue, so I can go there. So you can do all these things to just try and be like, okay, I'm going to absolve as many times as possible this turn. And then at the end, it's like I got this 1 red guy left.
I'll carry him over.
Maybe I'll carry him over for the next time. And so it's so satisfying when you can just find a way to pray multiple times in a turn and just keep hitting that one thing that you're good at that round over and over and over again.
And what's funny enough is it's a competitive game, so obviously there's a winner, there's a loser, but when we're at the end of the game, we tend to find that we're helping the other figure out how to do what they need to do. So if one of us verbalizes, I need to get my red up so I can do this, everybody seems to start looking to say, okay, how can we help them figure out how to get their red up? How can you get
your red up? It's like, okay, you can get your red up by converting. Are you able to convert? Can you do something here? It's like, okay, if I send this guy away, it costs me 2 coins, but it gives me a red and a white. That then you can do this to do this to.
So we all jump in and help each other figure out that puzzle. But yep, that puzzle piece is very, very satisfying in this game. I'm like you. I like this game a lot. I don't know if there's anything in this game that I dislike or would change, and that says a lot. I find that I don't do the fortifying action much when I play. I don't attack or convert very much when I play. I tend to focus on absolving, commissioning, garrisoning, and then developing. So I tend to just focus on those pieces, and that's something that I'm trying to change up the more we play, is to start incorporating other areas that I'm not so comfortable doing and seeing if that works.
Yeah, fortifying is unique in that you've got this deck of cards. So when you fortify, you don't exactly know what you're going to get.
You're always going to go up on the red track, but you don't know. Sometimes you may go up 2. Sometimes you're only going up 1. Sometimes that's all you get. Other times you may get workers. Other times you may get points. You may get money.
Yeah, so this one, move up on the red, you can flip a debt or take 2 money. And there were times that I got these 2 in a row, and one of the king's orders was flipping debts. And it was like, if I'd have known that this was coming up, I would have gotten a debt before I drew this, because I'd rather flip that debt for the king's order than get the 2 money.
Because you have to do what it says right at the time you take the fortify action. You can't just say, "Oh, I'll save that for later." You have to do it right away.
And so it's completely random what you're going to get, which I think is why your sister likes it. She's probably more of the gambling type that's like, oh, come on, I need some workers. All right, I got a red and 1 red worker. Okay, good.
Except she didn't get any workers, so
Except
she
kept
cursed
fishing.
the game a
Last
lot.
game she kept fishing for workers and weren't getting any. But you don't know what you're going to get when you fortify. Where the others, it's like, okay, how far can I go? All right, I know exactly what I can get. Is it worth me taking that action or not? But that's not a fault of the game. I think that's another unique twist in there.
So yeah, I like everything about the game. I don't think there's anything that I dislike there.
One thing that I dislike that is really just the expansion thing is these expansion boards that go to the side and the side here. They're glossy. See?
Oh, and do you know? I never noticed that.
Because these came in punch boards, just like cardboard money or something like that. And the player boards themselves,
They have
the
a
board
matte
here,
finish,
they're boards. They're the game boards that have a matte finish, and these are shiny, and that kind of bugs me when I look down. I see the glare on it, and it doesn't look like the rest of the board.
Oh my gosh, never noticed that
It
myself.
probably would have cost more for them to do a matte finish on these. I don't know anything about the production of board games, but it would have been nice. But
well, apparently it didn't bother me any because I didn't even notice.
yeah, now it might. But and one more thing that we're aware of when the big box came out, and they didn't have time to fix it, and these all went out. The spots where
Turn it the other way. There you go.
the spots where the small cards get put, they don't have a finger cut out to pull the cards out. So I took some ribbon and taped them in there. So when you need to get them out, you just pull the ribbon and it lifts the cards out for you. Otherwise, you're like reaching in there. It's not enough space for a finger to get in there.
Especially if you sleeve them.
And that's kind of disappointing.
But they did acknowledge it right away.
So they apologized. Probably in new printings of the big box, they probably fixed that. But it's kind of disappointing for those of us who got it through the Kickstarter.
But you did really clever by putting in the ribbon.
The ribbon helps out a lot. It's something that would help out a lot of inserts.
And it actually looks like it came that way.
So yeah, as long as you don't look at the tape that's holding it down there. But when cards are in there, you don't see that.
Nope.
And when you're playing the game, don't look at this.
All right, you want to give it some scores?
Sure. Who's going to start?
You start.
All right, so the 0 to 7 for gameplay mechanics and emotions taken out of it. I'm giving it a 7. Excuse me.
What are you giving it?
I'm giving it a 7.
He's giving it a 7. You wouldn't change a thing?
No, I don't think so.
I'm giving it a 7 as well.
All right.
We like the game.
For the
Your wow factor?
wow factor, 0 to 3. I would give this a 3.
You've got a 10 on your heels.
I think this is a 10 out of 10. I wouldn't change anything. I'll play it anytime Lisa's sister says, "Hey, let's play Paladins." It's like, yeah, sure. And sometimes I'm going to be like, "Hey, let's play it," because the puzzle of having to pick, it's like, okay, I need green and a black worker to take this action because I can't develop it. It's one of those games where it's like, okay, I need to accomplish something, and the way to accomplish it is here somewhere. I might not be able to do what I want this turn, but I can use this turn to set up the next turn to do what I want, and it's so satisfying to do that.
I'm going to give it a 3 because it is a 10 game. It is absolutely a 10 game. Do I want to play it every time it's suggested? Not necessarily, but I will. But it's a 10 game. You can't knock it just because my sisters made us play it so often that I'm done with it for a little bit. But it is absolutely a 10 game.
It's so good.
So good. Yeah.
And with the expansion, I don't know that the expansion is necessary.
Yeah, I agree with that. The base game is so satisfying in itself. The expansion just adds a little bit of additional things you can do, additional actions. It does not improve the game in any way. It just it doesn't even extend it any.
It doesn't make it any longer.
Yeah,
it gives you more stuff.
A couple more actions that you can take on your turn if you want. So the base game is perfect just as it is.
The base game has a whole lot more.
These are mine. Stop taking
The base game has a whole lot more of the puzzle of, okay, it wants me to commission and it wants me to garrison. So this requires black and gives me blue, and this requires red and gives me black. So this gives me the black needed for commission, but commission doesn't give me the red I need for garrisoning. So in the base game, it's a whole lot more of, okay, if I'm going to do garrisoning, I need to throw convert in here, even if it's not required for bonus points at the end of the game, just because I need to get my red up to be able to garrison. That's an interesting puzzle where it's like, I don't want to have to convert, but I need to if I want to get my red up high enough to do what I want. So I'm going to have to do that. Or I might fortify instead, which requires blue, which none of these, commissioning gets up the blue. So you might be like, okay, I'm just going to do the whole top row. And so turn the black into blue, and the blue into red, and the red into black, and just keep doing that cycle over and over again. But again, those might not be what the king wants for endgame points, so you got to figure that out. When you put in the expansion, it adds in that negotiate, where it's like, okay, I can do the garrison action even if my red's not high, if that card gives me enough of a plus along with the plus from my paladin. So it can kind of make the problem a little bit looser, give you extra solutions, which it's fun. I enjoy it. When we first got the expansion, for a lot of the time, I would just ignore these actions and just play the game as normal. But so when it came up on the random, it's like, okay, I want to play this a few times with the expansion, and I'm going to just hit the expansion. And the first game, I was hitting muster and negotiate quite a bit, and won that game. And the cards just seemed to be coming up just right. I was able to hit all the king's orders and everything with the expansion. But I don't know that happens every game, because there are times where it's like, okay, I want to do that, but I don't have the right thing at the right height to be able to do that card, and so I need to get the red up in another way. So is it necessary? No. It adds some interesting choices. I like having the cards out that basically give you more worker placement spots to do stuff, and so it kind of gives you more. They might show up and give you a prey action that normally wasn't available, so you can get an extra prey action.
You should have talked about all that and what you liked and disliked.
Well, we were talking about the base game. So,
and it does not come with metal coins. The game does not come with metal coins. Of course, I love.
They
love
do
metal
sell
coins.
Metal coins, and so
I love them.
These are the ones that came with.
I think they're my favorite metal coins.
They're pretty good.
This game has got my favorite, and the same coins work for all of the West Kingdom games.
Yeah. So you can either buy one set of coins and just keep them out for the game, or you can do what I did, and I just bought a set of coins for each game. Same thing with the wooden provisions.
Yeah.
You can get these wooden provisions, or you can use the cardboard ones. We just like the wooden bits. But like I was saying with the expansion, I don't think that it changes the score of the game in any way. I don't think that it's essential. But if you like this game and you play it often enough, I don't think that I would want to play without it. Just to have that option out there.
I mean, we've included it in every gameplay we have, so we just keep it out. It's just part of the game for us.
If you don't want to do it, you just ignore it.
Yep.
And
And it doesn't hurt.
So, but it's there if you need it.
Okay, do you want to find our next random game?
Next random game. Let's see what it gives us this time. All right, I think you can just
I get to do it?
You can just hit the Get Collection
Get
button
collection and roll.
and see what comes up.
It should be another West Kingdom game.
That would be
We should have
interesting.
done all three. Flashpoint, Fire Rescue.
Flashpoint Fire Rescue. Do I have that? Close.
Well, you have to have it because it's on this.
I have it. Where is it?
Who can say? Who can say?
Who can say? So
Yeah.
it is a co-op that
I've never seen this.
you actually play as a firefighter fighting a fire. And so this will be kind of interesting because I got it in Kickstarter, the first edition, first printing. So I think they may have changed some stuff up, but we'll be talking about the first edition.
Okay. So, what's it called?
Flashpoint Fire
Flashpoint.
Rescue.
So that'll
Right
be our
here.
next review. If you want to see us do the other two West Kingdom games, let us know. We can definitely fit those in. They're played often enough that we could probably just do a quick refresher and then get a video out on those. If you want us to incorporate that
Tome Saga.
Tome Saga, let us know. We'll throw that in there as well. Again, it's going to hurt my sister's feelings to have to do that. But let us know if that's what you want us to do. Otherwise, we'll wait till it comes up in the randoms. So, we've got some games to play. So we'll see you
Alright.
next time.
Bye.
Bye. You know,
It's recording.
how do you know? I don't see a red light. I don't see nothing.
Flashing
Oh!
right here.
I see it.